And according to South Africa's Central Drug Authority, drugs fuel a life of addiction and crime, especially among the youth. The government has joined forces with communities to combat the scourge. One of the first community-based rehab centre was actually opened in Eldorado Park today. And our reporter Lopang, Alamu, we've been anticipating her, is finally back in studio because you've been at the story. Lopang, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, Alicia.
Look, Lopang, I was actually doing a study and reports indicate that last year the World Health Organization actually said that South Africa has about 15% of South Africans that are suffering from drug use and addiction. Yeah. That is quite a high number. Let's talk about how such centres like these seek to address the scourge.
Well, definitely. Look, one step at a time. I think such centres are a good start in helping, with drug addiction, especially in areas like Eldorado Park. A lot of the youth there, are addicted to heavy drugs.
It's a
heroin,
drug hotspot, yeah.
Tick, cat. So it's taking it one step at a time. I think the only problem at this point is the fact that these centres are not centres where these kids can sleep at. So it's a daily type of thing where they walk in this morning,
like
and
then
later on, you get what I'm saying? So what happens when they are then exposed to these substances again when they go back home?
Let's talk more on that point, Lopang. I mean, it is an outpatient based type of center that is going to help the drug addicts, but we all know that in order to help cure these the habits of the drug addicts is to actually keep them in-house so that they have constant care. Did the government actually look at ways that they're going to, at a later stage, make this maybe an inpatient house?
That's exactly what they said, that because this is a second centre they've built around Soweto. The first one was in Tladi. They built in February. So they did say they're looking to make bigger centres where they can accommodate these kids and let them sleep there. But I was speaking to one of the recovering addicts at the event today, at the launch, and he told me that the recovery phase is the most traumatic experience. It is very difficult. Yeah. He says the withdrawals are just something that a lot of these youths cannot handle. A lot of these kids cannot handle. So he says one of the things that the government needs to look at is investing more in medication that helps them, with the pain when it comes to withdrawal of these heavy drugs that they're on. And he also mentioned the fact that family members need to be more supportive, because it's very important to go through something so dramatic and have a family member or someone very close to you telling you that, you can't do this. This is not who you are, and this is not the future you look, to be having for yourself. So this is the support that I'll be giving you. Because he says that a lot of the community members in Eldorado Park are not there for their children. I feel like it's a case where they've given up on the youth.
But I mean, I suppose it's a case of, they're just tired now. We've seen various campaigns by the community that they've been part of to try and actually fight the drug abuse in the area, but it's all availed to nothing. How will now this centre actually work, Lopang? I hear you saying that they're going to be giving the addicts some medication, but on a daily basis, how will they first identify the people that need help, and how will they sustain that help to them?
So what typically happens is that all the addicts, they can be brought in by a family member, they can be brought in by other centres which are already packed, or just relapsed.
Walk-ins. Can drug addicts also walk in themselves?
They can. Okay. It's better that way. Yeah. And I guess that's the only reason they make community-based treatment centres, so that it's easily accessible, so that you can walk in and say, listen, I've got a problem. Because you see, that's the first step in recovery, to admit that you have a problem. You go seek help. And then that is when they'll take you in. The first process would be, they're assessing how far you are, how deep you're in, what kind of treatment you'd need, how long you're going to have to be coming to this. And then what they've also done is that they've employed former drug users.
I was about to ask about staffing issues there.
Yes, they've employed former drug users, and they've also asked them to help those who are now recovering drug addicts.
So as counsellors.
It is quite a good initiative, but it's also quite worrying because unemployment is still very, very rife. So that's another thing that takes our youth back to using drugs, because they don't have much to do.
And how did the community react to the centre? Very quickly, Lopang.
They were very, very happy. I spoke to one community member who's also a parent of one of the recovering drug addicts, who says this is what they needed for a very long time, because at first they didn't know where to take them. They couldn't afford to take them to all these other drug centers, which are very far from Eldorado Park. Exactly. So this is community based. It's right within the community. It's not far-fetched and not far reaching from where they are. So it's going to be quite easy for them to help at least a number of the youth who are addicted to drugs in the community.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope that the community also joins in the fray and also helps those. Thank you so much for talking to us. That is SABC reporter Lopang Alamu, who was at the opening of a health rehab center out in Eldorado Park, one of the drug hotspots here in the country. Mdu, what have you got for us in weather now?